In this lecture, we're going to show how to use advanced mate tools, width and symmetric. So let's start with width, and to show how width works, we want to insert this part in the center of this cylinder here, right here. So before we start using width tool, we have to create concentric relation between this and this. For this, we need standard mate concentric. So let's go to mate and let's choose this cylinder and this. So we have concentric relation and OK. And now we see that we can rotate this part, but this part is movable along z-axis. And we wanna position this part right in the center of this cylinder. So let's go to mate and let's go to advanced mates. And here we have a width. Let's click on the width. And now here we have a dialog box. We have to choose entities to mate. In the first dialog box, we have to choose between which faces will be centered this part. This part will be centered between this face and this face, like this. And then in the second dialog box, we have to choose our tab, this part. So we have to choose two faces of this part. We're going to choose this one and this one. And let's just click OK. And now let's try to move this part. It's not possible because this part is right in the center between those two faces. But we could also choose those two faces. We would get the same result. And now let's see what else we can do with the width tool. Let's go to mate. Let's edit feature. And let's go down. And here we have a width and constraint. So we choose centered. This is default. But here we have some other options. We can go with free. So let's try free, how this works. And OK. And now let's try to move our part. And now as you see, this part is movable only between those two faces. If we would choose those two faces, then this part, when we would choose a free, would be movable between those two faces. So we can show this. Let's go to width, edit, let's clear this in the first dialog box, and let's choose this face and this face, and OK. Let's try to move. Now we see that this part is movable between this face and this face. But now let's go to our width again. Let's choose centered. Let's click OK. And this part is right in the center. So it doesn't matter if we choose those two faces here in the inside or from the outside. When we use center, we got the same result. But when we used free constraint, we didn't have the same result. Let's go back and let's delete those faces and let's choose those faces from the inside, like this. And now let's see what other options do we have here. We have centered, free, and we have dimension. Let's click on the dimension and let's put here 5 millimeters. And now we see that we have 5 millimeters from this face. Here we have some error that is showing that this part is 5 millimeters from this face. We can go flip dimension, and now we have 5 millimeters from this face. So we have dimensions. Let's uncheck flip dimensions. And in the last one, we have percent. So this is the same thing as the dimension, but instead of millimeters, we use percentage. So now this part is on 25% of this distance from this face. We can go flip dimension, and now this part is on the 25% of this distance between those two faces from this face. We can also go to 50%, and now our part is centered. And those are all options that we have with Width tool. So let's go back to our centered and let's click OK. Like this. Now let's create another instance of this part. Just hold Ctrl and drag part out. Like this. Let's rotate this part. Like this. And let's go to Mate and let's insert this part right in the center here. So first let's go with Concentric. Like this. And now we can go to Width, Advanced Mates, Width. We can choose those two faces and those two faces. Like this. And now we can rotate this part as this part. And now we're going to show the second tool from Advanced Mates, and this is Symmetric. With Symmetric tool, we can create a symmetry about a plane between two parts. So for example, we have here a right plane right in the middle, and now we want to create a symmetry relation between this part and this part. So when we're going to move this part will move accordingly, and it will be at the same angle to this face of the part 1 as this one. So let's go to Mate. Let's go to Advanced Mates, and here we have Symmetric. Let's click here, and now we have a first dialog box. Here we have to select our symmetry plane. So we're gonna choose right plane, this one, and in the second dialog box we have to choose entities that will be symmetric. So we can choose faces. We can choose this face and this face. And OK. And now let's try to move this part, and we see that this part is moving accordingly. Or if we move this part, then this part is moving accordingly. Now if you notice, we didn't make directly symmetric relation between those two parts. We made symmetric relation between this face and this face. And since those faces are the same, we got symmetric relation between two parts. If we would choose this face on this part and this face on this part, then those two parts won't be in symmetry. So keep that in mind.